Good morning, students. Today we will discuss chapter 9, that is force and the laws of motion. See, this is our common experience that to do some to do anything in our day-to-day life, we have to apply some effort. For example, if you want to start a bicycle, you will have to start pedaling it. When you apply your effort, then only the bicycle moves. This effort in science we say force. In general, the pushing, the hitting, the pulling are some of the ways in which we apply force. By these processes, we apply force. So in this chapter, we will learn what are the things force can, uh, what are the results of applying force. So you can underline the important lines here. I will underline the important lines, okay, like this. Now you see from the previous class, these are some examples where you have applied force. This fellow is applying force because of which his cart is moving. If to open up a drawer, you have to pull it. For this ball to move, you have to hit it. This spring, if you apply force, it will change its shape. So, so is the case with this ball. So we can say that this is an important line. A force can be used to change the magnitude or velocity of an object. Then to start motion, stop motion, or to change direction, or force can change the shape and size of an object. So these are important lines. Now let us come to balanced and unbalanced force. Balanced and unbalanced forces are always more than one force. Balanced forces are maybe two, maybe three. If their overall effect of applying the force is zero, then we say balanced force. Zero means that there will be no change in the state of motion. Let us take an example. See here, there is a box here. This object, if you pull from both sides, if you pull from both sides with equal force, the object will not move because the forces are balanced force. One force is cancelling, the other forces effect. So this is called balanced force. If any of the force is larger than the other, then the box will start moving. This is called unbalanced force. So we can say that only unbalanced force will or can cause a change in state of motion. An object be will start moving only if you apply unbalanced force on it. So there are a few examples given here. One example is given about the riding of bicycle. Okay, here it is given. What happens when we ride a bicycle? So it is given first when we start pedaling, slowly the cycle will start to move. It is because first we have to do work against friction. Friction is a force which is present between two surfaces in contact. Here it is given. See, friction force, and they act in opposite direction of motion. So they want to oppose the motion. So if you want to start motion, you will have to first you will have to first apply force against the frictional force. When your frictional force, when you overcome the frictional force, then only your motion will start. So this is an example of unbalanced force. So these lines are important that you should underline. Okay, these are the important lines. If an unbalanced force is applied on the object, there will be a change either in its speed or in the direction of motion. That means to change the direction of motion also we have to apply force. So if you want to accelerate an object, then also you have to apply an unbalanced force. A balanced force cannot cause a change in the state of motion. It means, okay. Then let us come to this laws of motion. First law of motion. So they were initial observation was by Galileo. Galileo is a great philosopher scientist who studied about motion. So by observing the motion of object, Galileo understood that object move with a constant speed when no force act on them. So he has observed that if we do not apply force, the object will move with constant speed. There will be no change in the speed. Neither it will increase nor it will decrease, nor the direction will change. For this, this is an example that Galileo used. Here, a marble is there which is rolling down an inclined plane, and there is another inclined plane on the right side. This one. What he did, he rolled a marble from the top, and he observed that if the slope are same, slope means the inclination. If the slope is same, the marble will rise to the same height. You can see this figure. This marble, when it is released and this slope is same, it is going to the same height. And in this here, in this case, the distance traveled down the plane is equal to the distance traveled by the marble upward, up the plane. Okay. If we decrease the inclination, that means if you decrease the sloping, then also it is observed that the marble goes to the same height, but this time the marble has to travel a longer distance on the inclined plane. If you still further uh, decrease the sloping of the inclined plane, you will see that the marble will reach to the same height, but this time again it has to travel a longer distance. So it appears that the distance is not important. The path, it want to go to the same height. It is because of gravity that we will learn in the next chapter. So Galileo deduced that if the inclination is made zero, if the slope is made zero, the ball will continue to roll forever to acquire the height. देखो यहाँ पे see, you see here no sloping here, so the marble will should continue to roll to achieve this height that it will never get. But in practice, in our practical life, we do not see that the marble going forever. It is because there is unbalanced force of friction. The frictional force opposes the motion of the marble. So if you want to continue the motion of the marble, you will have to apply some external unbalanced force. Okay, you'll have to apply some force to counter the frictional force. Now here some line is given. If you want to reduce the frictional force, you can use a smooth marble or a smooth plane so that the frictional force reduces and the marble will go a longer distance. Then Newton studied this Galileo's idea on force and motion, and he gave these three fundamental laws. Okay, these are the lines here. These three laws are called Newton's laws of motion, and they are very fundamental in the study of motion of object. The first law is this one. An object remains in a state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled to change that state by an applied force. The meaning is that an object at rest will remain at rest. A moving object will continue to move in the same direction with same speed unless and until some external unbalanced force is applied. So this law is saying that force is the cause of change in the state of motion. If we do not apply force, the state of motion will not change. In another word, we can say that all objects want to continue its state of motion. That means what? It want to resist, oppose. It want to resist a change in the state of motion. This is another way of saying the same thing. And this tendency of object to continue its state of motion is called inertia. Inertia. So first law is essentially talking about inertia. Okay, inertia. So that is why first law is also called law of inertia. Since the first law essentially talks about that force is the cause of state of motion, change in a state of motion. If we do not apply force, no change in the state of motion takes place. And that is also exactly inertia. We can say that first law of motion is also a statement of inertia. Then some practical observations you can do. It is our day-to-day observation. Suppose you are uh, going in a moving car. Suppose here it is given. Suppose you are traveling in a motor car. Then suddenly brakes are applied. What happens is that the car slows down, but our body still want to continue its state of motion. That is, it still want to move. It still want to keep moving. That is why when the car stops, we fell forward. So this is given here. This is because of inertia. And then, so similarly, when the car, here it is given, this one. If uh, a person standing in a bus suddenly, if the bus suddenly moves forward, then the person will fall backward. It is because again, it is again because of inertia, because the person still want to be at rest, but the car is moving suddenly, so he will fall backward. Another example of inertia is when a car takes a sharp turn at high speed, the person gets thrown to the other side. It is because the person wants to continue its motion in the same direction. Since the car is taking a sharp turn, he will fall to the other side. It is given here, okay? And then there is another example given here. You must have seen this one in playing carom board. If the striker hits very fast, only the dice at the bottom will move, not the others. Okay, only the coin at the bottom will move. And this one, this trick you can show to your younger brother or sister. If you hit this cardboard very hard, the coin, this is a coin, the coin will drop into the glass. It is because inertia of rest. The coin want to be at rest, while this cardboard suddenly moves due to inertia of rest. This coin falls into the glass. Now, inertia and mass, how are they related? So first, the important line that you should know is here. These are the important lines that you must know. Okay, see first one, inertia of an object is measured by its mass. If the mass is more, the inertia will be more. Take the example of a big stone and a marble. If you want to roll the big stone, you will have to apply a lot of force because its inertia is more. It want to be at its state more than a smaller one. More is the mass, more will be the inertia. You can take another example. Suppose there is a truck that is coming at say 1 meter per second. Even though it is coming at 1 meter per second, a person will not be able to stop it because its mass is more. So inertia, that is a tendency to continue a state of motion, will be more. So if you try to stop it, you know what will happen. So in short, we can say that the mass is a measure of inertia. So these questions you will get, the question answer you will get in the app. You write from the app and try to apply your thoughts also. And even after that, if you get any difficulty, you can contact me. I will discuss this in some other class. Then comes the second law of motion. To discuss about second law of motion, first you have to know about momentum. Momentum, I will underline these important lines. Momentum was introduced by Newton. These are the important lines. Okay, actually very important lines. Momentum is a quantity. It was defined by Newton, and it is defined as product of mass and velocity. See, a small bullet, even though its mass is very less, when it is fired from a gun, it comes out with very high velocity and it can cause damage. The same damage you can get from a very big stone which is rolling at a slow speed. That means mass and velocity together can, uh, uh, mane, both of them together can show the effect. Both of them are important. Okay, their product is important. If even if mass is less but velocity is high, it can give you the same effect as done by a bigger mass at a smaller velocity. So momentum is a quantity which is product of mass into velocity, and the direction of momentum. Momentum has both value as well as direction. Direction of momentum is in the direction of velocity. And the unit, if you see mass unit is kg and velocity is meter per second. So you will get this unit, kg meter per second. Kg for mass, velocity is meter per second, that is why. Now, next thing, the second law says that, the second law of motion says that the rate of change of momentum, this is the statement of second law of motion, very important. You must by heart this. Okay, students, please by heart this, very important. Thus, it states that rate of change of momentum of an object is proportional to the applied unbalanced force in the direction of force. First thing, you must apply unbalanced force, then only the velocity or the direction it will change. So change in momentum means, suppose starting velocity was u. After you apply force, the velocity increased to some other value, say v. So change in what is the initial momentum? Mass into velocity, m into u. See, it's given here. See, initial and final momentum will be product of the mass and initial velocity, mass and final velocity. So change will be the difference of the two momentum, initial final momentum minus initial momentum. If t is the time taken for this change in momentum, the rate of change of momentum will be the change in momentum divided by t. So if you do this one, you'll get this. You see closely here. You can take m common from here. You get v minus u. You divide by t. You will get rate of change of momentum. And then to remove this proportionality, according to Newton's second law, this rate of change of momentum is proportional to force. That is why this F is proportional to this one is coming. To remove the proportionality constant, we use a constant called k here. And then this part you see v minus u divided by t, it is defined as acceleration. This one already we know from earlier chapter. Acceleration is rate of change of velocity. Okay. In SI unit, the mass is measured in kg, acceleration is in meter per second square. So if we put here 1 kg and then 1 meter per second square, we get 1 Newton force. And the unit are so chosen so that this constant become 1. That means we have chosen k to be equal to 1 in SI system. So this kg meter per second square is also called Newton, and it is a symbol of capital letter N. Okay. So Second law of motion, this is another important line. Second law of motion give us a way to measure force acting on an object as the product of mass into acceleration. So simply, if you know the mass and if you know the acceleration, you know what is the force acting on the object. Just multiply mass with acceleration, you get the force acting on the object. Okay. See, these are some practical applications. When the ball is coming, this fellow is giving more time. He is catching the ball and he's moving his hands backward. So the time is more. When time is more, you can see from this equation, when time is more, force is less according to mathematics. So he will feel less force on his hand. Okay. So if you give less time, force will be high. Okay. Then this one, the last topic that I will discuss today, is that the first law of motion can be derived from second law of motion. You see this equation, F is equal to ma. If force is zero, this whole thing will be zero. You see mass cannot be zero, T cannot be zero. Mass and T cannot be zero, so V minus U, V and U must be equal. Then only V minus U will be zero, right? So that means V is equal to U. If F is equal to zero, V will be U. That means if an object, if it is at rest, U will be zero, and V is also zero. That means the object will be at rest only. If the object is moving with some speed, it will continue to move with the same speed. Okay. So you can see that from the second law, we can derive the uh, first law. Okay. So these are the some of the examples. Today you try to do example 9.1 yourself. Next class, you tell me your difficulties. If you have any difficulty, I will try to solve, and then we will continue this with third law of motion and law of conservation of momentum. Thank you. Bye bye.